Hello, I'm Catherine Dolan, the Indiana Supreme Court Chief Public Information Officer. The Indiana Court Times is the state's publication for judicial communications. And with us today is Vigo County Superior Court 2 Judge Lakshmi Reddy. Some folks might know her by her nickname Lucky, and we are very fortunate to have her with us today for this interview. You can read the full profile on our Indiana Court Times blog. Welcome, Judge. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thanks for having me, Catherine.
You know, this last year with the pandemic has been so difficult for everyone, your family, no exception. And in some ways, perhaps you felt the pressures of COVID more severely. Can you explain your personal and family COVID situation?
Sure. I think like most families, we were all frantically trying to figure out how are we going to adjust our lives. We had 3 children at home who suddenly had to stay at home and get educated and trying to calm their nerves and, reduce their frustrations of the whole process. From the court's perspective, we were trying to figure out, well, how are we all going to work from, home and still be able to conduct business? And then, of course, my husband being a physician, suddenly he's trying to do telemedicine. So all of those things were pretty stressful. And then adding to that was my husband was seeing COVID patients on a daily basis. And so we were always worried, is he going to get sick? What's he going to bring home? We even thought for a period of time, should he get an apartment or stay in a hotel? And that just didn't seem realistic because we thought, well, this could go on for months. So, he'd come home and he'd leave his clothes in the garage and not touch anything, take a shower before he saw us. And I still remember those first few months when this was all happening. Every day at 7 a.m., the hospital and the doctors were all on a Zoom or conference call getting daily updates as to what's happening and what the treatment options are. He'd come home in the evening and doctors, were calling left and right to talk about what they were experiencing. And then he'd come home and talk about just how hard it was to watch people just struggle to breathe and no family members around. So for us, it just felt like from morning to bedtime, it was always on our mind because he was surrounded by it. And then around Thanksgiving, he got sick and tested positive. He stayed home, isolated in his room for 7 full days. I mean, we just put food outside the door and he would get it because he didn't want us to get sick. And after 7 days, he finally said, I've got to go to the hospital. And he would actually even let me drive him. He called an ambulance and had the ambulance pick him up. And they came into our house with all, their full gear, which was kind of scary, but, it happened at 6 a.m. So the kids were still asleep so that it wouldn't stress them out. And when he went to the hospital, he was there for 5 days. We didn't get to go visit him. We would do FaceTime. We were fortunate because we knew all the doctors. So they would text me and call me. So we got constant updates all day long to know how he was doing. But, I think of all those families that, had people in the hospital that they loved that they didn't get to see them, maybe didn't get to talk to them or didn't get frequent updates from doctors. So that must have just been such a sense of helplessness that I can't imagine what they were going through. At this point, we're just thankful we're all healthy and getting vaccinated and there's light at the end of the tunnel, but it's been a long, long year and we're ready to put it behind us. Our kids are definitely ready to put it behind them.
We are, and get back to sports full time. Family and sports are very important to you. You get your kids to many different sporting events and practices. You guys go to Colts games together. Local basketball fans, I think grabbing meals in there where you can. In many respects, it's the Hoosier way of life, but also you are very in touch with an immigrant family experience because you were born in India. Can you tell us how that shaped you?
I actually don't talk about my experience as an immigrant or growing up. Maybe with family or really close friends, but not in a public forum usually. I would say that I think my experience as an immigrant child is probably like most others. My father, when he came here and wanted to make this home, he wanted to make sure that his kids assimilated. So he would talk in his native language, but we always had to talk back in English. So we really never learned our native language very well because that was very important to him. And so growing up, my brother and I, we used to joke that we were the kids without a country or we were part of no man's land. In some ways, and I think a lot of immigrant children maybe feel it's almost an identity crisis, like you're not quite sure where do you belong. And so what I mean is, living in the United States, when people look at us, we look different, so they consider us a foreigner. And when we go back to India, no matter we would wear the traditional clothing, hairstyle, they immediately knew we're Americans. They just knew. So we go back home, to India where we're born and we're considered Americans. And in the United States where we live, we're considered foreigners. So it was always this sense of where do you belong? And I think it was hard growing up, but it probably shaped a lot of who I am today. I've got friends, from all different backgrounds. It's funny, Catherine, if you ask me, where are you from? My gut instinct would say, I'm from Alabama. And when I tell people that, they look at me strange, like, really? And then I have to think, well, okay, I was born in India. But it's shaped me in ways that I think I always want to make people feel like they belong. And I think that's one, because I know what that was like growing up. And so I think that's an aspect of me, and a reason why I'm able to connect with so many people, because I always make them feel like they belong, no matter what their socioeconomic class is or religion or whatever. I always go out of my way to make people feel like they belong.
See, Judge, I think of you as a Hoosier, and perhaps that's because I know you as a judge in your community of Vigo County, and how hard you work for your community. Many judges tell us how difficult and isolating it can be to be a judge, but also how very rewarding it can be because of that public service. And it seems to me like, from knowing you, it's the public service aspect that most draws you to the position. Is that fair to say?
I think definitely, I'm blessed in a lot of ways. And one of which is that my husband earns a good salary. So I don't go to work for the money. I go to work because I love it. So if I'm going to go to work and be away from my family, we don't have to. I want there to be a purpose. And it first, when I see something not working, or children not thriving or being able to meet their potential, it bothers me. And I want to be part of that system to make a change and to feel a sense of accomplishment. And I feel that as a judicial officer, when I see kids who are, failing grades and disciplinary problems, and I make that tough decision to modify custody, and then months later they come back and they're on honor roll and they don't have any problems and they're happy, I feel like I was a part of something important. Or when a parent comes to me and says, I was really mad at you when you made that decision, but now I can't thank you enough. Because of you, my children have a relationship with their father or their mother, and they wouldn't have. So I guess I feel good about the position. It's hard. It's rare that you see those positive outcomes, but when they do, it's what makes it worth to keep trying.
Well, thank you so much, Judge, for joining us today. I've certainly enjoyed getting to know you a little bit better, and I know that our viewers will as well. Be sure to check out the full issue of the Indiana Court Times in the description below, and you can find more interviews on our channel at the end of this video. Thanks, Judge.
Thank you.